All right, welcome to the stream here, folks. This is Bad at Fighting Games presents not filler episode, whoops. One Punch Combo, a fighting game podcast, episode 11. Street Fighter 6 Teased and Strive Surpasses sales. I'm Reason B Man, a guy who I don't really know what happened. I somehow hurt my nose. I think it's a sinus thing, but it's also I don't know what happened. I don't know if I'm sleepwalking, but it feels like I sprained my nose somehow. The only way I can really compare that to is I definitely have sprained my ankle before, so I know what that feels like. So I sprained my nose somehow, or it's just really, really intense sinus thing, or could be COVID. But I looked it up and it wasn't the COVID. That wasn't one of the COVID symptoms. Plus, I am fully immunized since back in like April. So definitely should not be that. But anyway, trying to figure that out. Actually, I'd probably, let me go grab the ibuprofen. We will run an ad. Okay, looks like we still got a little bit of the ad to go. Sorry about that. I actually meant to do that before the show, but just thinking of it. Right, so if you want to chat while the podcast is being streamed, you can join me live on Twitch at RaisinBman. First thing we do in these podcasts is we go over the fighting game news for the month. This is a monthly podcast. Filler episode is the other podcast on this channel. That's a weekly podcast, which we'll be going to after this one. We'll go into the news, and then we'll have a tourney section after. These will be time-stamped on YouTube, but I don't get paid from YouTube, so please do engage in Twitch content. We have some pretty significant news this month, so let's get into it. So our first news item, Arc System Works, they've done a number of things, so we'll get into it as I scroll through these news items here, but they have a Guilty Gear Strive survey. In their last survey, they asked who you wanted to see as a crossover character, but this one is a little bit more open-ended. Do you see any problem points? Do you like the game, etc.? So worth filling out if you haven't already. Guilty Gear Strive, they also had their developer backyard. Let me close that very quickly. They had the developer backyard number 7, which had some very interesting stuff in it. You see a lot of people asking for cross-play, and that the lobbies are bad, and that loading takes a long time. But the thing is, and of course balance changes, Soul is overpowered. But the thing is, ArcSys, they actually have addressed a lot of this stuff, and they've said, we're working on it, please be patient, as we'll get into with some of these news items. But in this backyard specifically, they do say that there's going to be an August balance patch, which is post-Evo, which is what I was thinking, as well as an October system patch. The October system patch is a little bit more mysterious, as beyond people saying, I don't like Strive, I don't want to play Strive, which is completely fine. I don't really know what sort of system changes they're going to have, because from what I was really hearing, people were more interested in minor character changes than overhauling systems and stuff like that. Pre-release, the Air was nerfed pretty heavily. So that definitely was a change because they wanted this Guilty Gear to be a more grounded Guilty Gear. And really, with this late August patch, we should see the game be relatively balanced. Soul really ridiculous. Ram probably could use some hitbox changes. Well, actually, she needs hurt boxes added to her. Let's phrase it like that. May, I'm kind of indifferent, but she's kind of stupid. I can't remember anybody else who's like a really offensive example right now, but yeah. So yeah, you should check out that backyard as well as the survey if that's something you're into. Um, this, that comes to us from their Twitter directly. Game Informer had a story, but I imagine everybody has seen this story, where Street Fighter V's final new character, Luke, was revealed, with Akira and Oro arriving later this month. So what we're really seeing is them closing the chapter on Street Fighter V, and with apparently with Luke moving to Street Fighter 6. I was kind of excited when they said Luke, although Street Fighter V is bad. You know, I was thinking about Luke Cage, but this is definitely a much less impressive character than Luke Cage. And in fact, I've heard both mainstream media and fighting game pundits clown on the character. Listening to Coffee and Combos, they made the good point that he's supposed to be MMA, but Abel was MMA, but Abel was kind of a ridiculous character, so they may, especially since they're looking at this character for main character purposes, they may be trying to ground him a bit more, because Abel, in his Street Fighter Cross Tekken story, he was concerned about petting a bear when he's supposed to be this serious character. You know, just it's sort of Street Fighter nonsense. But I guess this is confirming they don't want to move forward with Abel, and plus his story deals more with Street Fighter 4 than it will with Street Fighter 6, I guess. But yeah, this all makes sense. If you haven't paid attention to the podcast, we did talk about it some time ago, but it's probably worth going over again. So supposedly Ono was working on Street Fighter 6, and there was some sort of team mechanic that wasn't working out, and he's no longer with Capcom. But it seems like with COVID and Ono being out, and allegedly Ono was tough to work with in terms of he wanted things done his way, from what I've heard. But yeah, so with the changes they've made, we've seen them progress through COVID, with Street Fighter V having a new season. Not necessarily exciting with Dan, but we're seeing the end of that, and Luke teasing Street Fighter 6. So I imagine, especially with new consoles, I'm sure Sony wants to throw them some money to get Street Fighter 6 onto the PS5, that they're going to start winding down Street Fighter V and winding up Street Fighter 6. We are seeing this from a couple different developers, so it's not completely out of the question, though it is kind of strange. Both this game and Mortal Kombat had said, we're going to support this game for a really, really long time, and here, Street Fighter V, they're releasing two characters now and just sort of saying, okay, thanks, bye, which is kind of strange, but who knows, maybe Street Fighter 6, they're building to it, but maybe it's farther off than we think. But yeah, they also had a Street Fighter V summer update detailing a lot of stuff that I just said, like Oro and Akira. But moving on, Game Informer brings us another story that Guilty Gear got its first DLC character, Gold Lewis Dickinson. Sort of a strange character who clearly is underpowered. We're getting I mentioned already, but we're getting a late August patch, so maybe they're going to be addressing that there. I can't think that they won't address it. Really, the game, all you need to do, and I sort of mentioned already, is bring down a couple of the top tiers, and then you'd have a pretty balanced, good game. With Gold Lewis, he's horrible on defense, and he's got... I don't know exactly what they're going to do to him, but it just seems like, especially against Axel, he loses, which is fine. I mean, if was a tournament setting, whatever, then you'd switch characters. But yeah, moving on, we have a Jinx.TV story. Smash caster D1 denies accusation of sexual harassment, and new one emerges. This is Jinx with a G, by the way. D1 was accused of having sexual relations with a drunk 18-year-old and starting rumors about their encounter across the Smash community. Apparently a former caster, so apparently got out of it. So the accusations were made by KT Dominate. Apparently, according to these, he took advantage of her. He is denying this, saying he allegedly spent the entire day following. What? Okay, that's not important. This story is confusing. Okay, so what they're trying to address here is the rumors that he allegedly started. But he's saying he didn't start rumors because he was cleaning his room. Not the best alibi, but there you go. Another anonymous accuser came forth. And after that, a non-anonymous accuser, Seshi Evans. That one is pretty damning, and D1 has yet to issue a response to the statement. So that's 3 accusations. Not looking good for a D1, but maybe it's best that this person stays in the former status in terms of not being part of the Smash community any longer. Another Jinx.TV article, hashtag free MVC2. How the FGC wants to preserve Marvel's Capcom 2's legacy. Marvel's Capcom 2 has been delisted. This is a Jinx.TV story. Delisted from Xbox Live and PSN since 2013. So this is another deal with Maximilian. First we saw it with Killer Instinct, now he's doing Marvel's Capcom 2. So, and the company that did this, which is Digital Eclipse now, is saying that they would be willing to make it, but of course, all this is in the hands of Disney and Marvel. Jeez, Dreamcast copies of Marvel's Capcom 2 selling upwards of 250. I remember when I was looking for them, they were a good 50, 60. That wasn't Dreamcast specifically, but yeah, I was just interested in that article in particular to see if they actually had made any grounds. But it seems like it's a lot like with Killer Instinct. It is a wish that they're hoping to fulfill. That being said, Marvel's Capcom Infinite was horrible, and I would personally say that would end the relationship between Disney, Marvel, and Capcom. But of course, both these companies, Disney and Capcom like money a lot, so if Capcom doesn't have to do much work, which seems to be a common thread between their fighting games, actually, Matt McMuscles just did a video on Ono. I think that was like his first time in charge, Capcom Fighting All Stars or something like that. He did a video on that, how they weren't going to use any money but make a fighting game, and that did not turn out well. But the point is, they're very money centric. That's why they're doing all these remakes for Resident Evil. That's going to guarantee them money without having to really innovate. They're doing the same thing. It's very upgraded and very good, but you know they're going to get their investment back. Yeah, another Jinx.tv article. Crypto platform Coinbase to sponsor Smash tournaments. I thought I would mention this because it always seems like there's something really shady going on with crypto, so let's see. Beyond the Summit announced that the crypto platform will sponsor 3 events, including Ultimate Summit 3, Main Stage, and Summit 12. So apparently this isn't Coinbase's first partnership. They've partnered with Evil Geniuses, ESL Gaming, and Blast All Caps. So at least at first glance, there's nothing shady there. But it always seems like your NFT, your cryptocurrency, there's something shady going on. I think because it's so easy to say, hey, yeah, we're a great company and we're definitely not going to rip you off. But apparently that's legit. Okay, anyway, we've got some really sad stories here, Jinx.tv. Again, we have robberies in the Smash community. Smash Pro Riddles robbed, loses passport, Switch, and prize money. And turns out Riddles was local, Laurel, Maryland. So shout out to United States and Maryland being horrible. Yeah, so actually there it wasn't fighting game related, but you had what is his name? The musician Megaran. His car got broken into, and it's the same situation here. And in the chat, at least, they were talking about it on Kind of Funny. A lot of people were saying you shouldn't blame Megaran for having his car broken into. The thing is, especially when you're traveling, you're going to have to be a lot more careful. In this story in particular, what is his name? Riddles left his car and left his bag rather in a car and went to a convenience store and came back and his belongings were gone. But I can only imagine this was a, going into 7-Eleven for like a hot dog or whatever. But the thing is, that's enough time, and you don't know the neighborhood, especially because you're not from around there. You really want to make sure you're being careful with your belongings. Yeah, it looks like he went to a Wawa's. Oh, and this is after he had earned prize money at the comeback, so they're definitely not returning that. Sheesh, it doesn't stop there. Apparently, could not go back to Canada because Walgreens couldn't give him his results. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be careful, especially in a foreign land, in a new land. But the next story, this is another Jinx.tv story. Smash Pro fatality robbed in nightmare ordeal. So apparently got robbed at a gas station. Again, these are places where people are going to go and look for a quick pick and get out. He was apparently robbed of all his savings. So they stole his phone, made him unlock it so they access all passwords, and forced him to withdraw his money, took his debit card. Very tragic. It is kind of interesting that he was able to withdraw all his money. Generally, banks have a limit, so you can only do a daily withdrawal of so much. Um, like I can barely remember this, but I'm with BB&T, so that withdrawal will be 500. So it'll be, I mean, not to say that you can't have 500 or less in your account. It does look like he's getting his savings back, which makes sense. Banks are insured. He talked to the police, etc., etc. Yeah. So again, this is two examples in a row of why you need to be careful at gas stations, at convenience stores, at places you're not really sure of. It's scalpers are going crazy, and that's not even the criminals who are on the ground floor. That's not even the people who are robbing. But I can only imagine that robbery and desperation is at an all-time high with COVID, with jobs not being what they should be. So yeah. So not going to discuss this too much, but Sonic Fox said that Guilty Gear Strive was dead. Um, it's not, but he did say that, and that sparked a discussion. That story is brought to us by Jinx.tv. Punk bashes Street Fighter V's netcode, claims he'll focus on Guilty Gear live on official Capcom stream. So, talk about a pop off. He has no plans to play Street Fighter V online for the foreseeable future. I mean, but that does make sense. You don't really want to be saddled with a excuse me, saddled, especially in an online environment. They just revealed, well, I don't know if it's new as of today, but I think it's the Ellipson variant of COVID. They just had a news article on that today. So COVID's not going anywhere anytime soon, especially in the US. People don't want to get vaccinated and end COVID. Apparently, we just are deserving of having COVID forever, having it become another version of the flu to where everyone's getting it because it's always mutating. So it's kind of funny. Like I was saying, Sonic Fox said the game was dead, whereas we have this guy moving to the game. Another big news item here: Nickelodeon's All Star Brawl, which is basically Nick Smash Bros. You've got a you've got confirmed characters and leaked characters. That's a story brought to us by Jinx.tv, but there's also, if I can actually click on it, but there's also some leaked characters here. We saw box art, but the characters either stylistically were not shown or were specifically hidden. And the box art, come on. Here we, okay. Right, so the characters on the box art who are leaked are Korra, Legend of Korra, Cat Dog, we also have Aang, Ren and Stimpy, so yeah. This game is going to have wave dashing and rollback. That likens it to Smash immensely. Doesn't put it in my favor any, but if that is for you, then go for it. Another Jinx.tv story. SNK announces launch platforms for... Oh, that's not good. Launch platforms for King of Fighters 15. That link did not want to work, so let's try this. Okay, that just really doesn't want to work. I will get you these platforms. I believe Xbox One is not one of the platforms. Okay, come on. Okay, KOF 15 will be cross generation PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, as well as Steam Epic Game Store. They opted not to do Stadia after getting a minimum amount of money from Google for Sam Show. So yeah, we do not see Xbox One on there, which is kind of strange, but I mean, I guess that's up to them. It says we have 3 viewers. Thanks for tuning in. You may not be logged in. I can't see any usernames. But moving on, we have a Jinx.tv story. Guilty Gear Strive patch quietly removes mention of Uyghur, Tibet, and Taiwan. It's a bit of sadder news. Really like this game and this company, but apparently we just gotta bow down to China at all opportunities. Yeah, so I mean, really minor change, but still pretty disappointing. They changed this line. China has further expanded their borders to encompass Uyghur, Tibet, Inner Mongolia, Siberia regions with lower populations, but a lot of natural resources, and they just don't mention those countries beyond China. Uh, So, got another story here. Esports this time. Twitch adds Ryu Guile global emotes for the Street Fighter 5 summer update of 2021. Apparently, you don't have to earn them or anything. They've got so many that are on specific channels or with hype trains, but it seems like these are just permanent Twitch emotes. Uh, and again, esports here. SNK brings on former Sega president Kenji Matsubara as CEO. Apparently, he departed Sega in 2020, resigning for personal reasons, but was also at Koei Tecmo and Zynga. So the Sega experience, not really too excited about that. Sega is not a great company. They're getting a little bit better, but they're far too reliant on selling Sonic and Sonic being bad. Koei Tecmo is a little bit more exciting as they actually, and we went over this on Stock Gotcha, the stock podcast, how Koei Tecmo actually seems like it's a pretty good deal. And they've actually inserted themselves into some really good games like Fire Emblem Three Houses. So yeah, hearing that he's not just from Sega seems like a good deal. All right. Next up, .esports item. Mortal Kombat 11 sells over 12 million units. Not much to say there. And another one of our big items here, Guilty Gear Strive. This is a .esports article. Guilty Gear Strive sells over 500K. And you know, I mean, that's definitely amazing. There was a piece of art that was made, but the big thing there is that's at least 5 times any Guilty Gear ever. So, as much as Sonic Fox wants to say this game is dead, it's got a very healthy player base here. It's actually funny with Sonic Fox saying that the game was dead. He actually had lost, or they, I should say, actually lost to a European team in a tournament setting. So maybe Sonic Fox is really just getting while the getting is good and sticking to, you know, your Netherrealm, your Skullgirl stuff, because apparently the Guilty Gear people aren't going to let him get it for free. But yeah, that's amazing, and that should probably tell you that Guilty Gear Strive is going to have a long shelf life. But this is not that surprising considering Arc System Works really seems to be coming into their stride with this sort of thing with Dragon Ball Fighters. Of course, that's sold like mad. And Guilty Gear Strive in 2 days outsold Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So it's really a thing of where they just have to position themselves, and beating a licensed product is actually a really good achievement. But they just have to position themselves and make it worth it. I'm sure Rollback excited a lot of people, but a lot of people seem to be, this is their first time in the Guilty Gear, so very interesting stuff all around. Another .esports article, Dash Fight launches professional Mortal Kombat 11 guides featuring top players like Foxy Grandpa and Rewind. .esports article, Ramon soars into King of Fighters 15. Another .esports item, Skullgirls becomes last minute addition to EVO 2021's online main lineup. So this one's a bit weird. I mean, it's good that it happened, but it's kind of weird that they were excluded from the first place. And of course, with this late announcement, this news item was on July 7th. You don't have a ton of time to prepare. In fact, I believe EVO, the portion for Skullgirls, actually ended this week. So you only had a month to prepare. for Evo. And of course, if you are, there are Skullgirls tournaments and stuff. I'm sure you're doing other stuff, but probably want the prep time, is my point. Yeah, there was only a week left. Well, just over a week. There was just over a week left to register for the main event. Skullgirls was added to the Evo lineup. So, both in terms of trying to. Sorry, this ad is distracting. And trying to actually get registered for the tournament and getting prepared for the tournament doesn't seem like a good situation. But this wouldn't be the first time Skullgirls had. Well, this is like the third time Skullgirls has been screwed out of an Evo spot. And there was a funded spot and they got beat up by Smash Bros or something. I can't remember all the details right now. And then of course, right before all of COVID, Skullgirls, I believe, was going to be there for this year. No, I'm sorry, last year. And this year they weren't there at all. Well, until they announced that they were. Okay, so there is a little bit of context here. Skullgirls was originally part of the side tournament. So definitely good that it's there and they changed that, but kind of weird that they waited until now. I know we live in a COVID world, so you're doing things by the seat of your pants, but still some dangerous stuff there. Another .esports article, and I think we heard this last time, unless we're also just hearing it again because it's happened again. But anyway, this .esports article, Leffen unable to attend Smash Summit 11 due to visa issues. So apparently his travel visa is approved, but just there's some other factor where he's not getting in. Yeah, so suffering for your art. If only Smash had good online, am I right? Uh, Next up, we have news from Fighter Generation. We got our first look at a gameplay trailer for Blazing Strike. Um, Another Fighter Generation, Tekken 5, Tekken 6 limited edition vinyl soundtracks by Laced Records coming in March 2022. Another Fighters Generation item. New King of Fighters 15 character reveal set for August 11th. So they've already put up the silhouette. They've been putting up silhouettes for characters, and it's some sort of flexing muscle guy. I'm assuming it's a guy. I might be wrong. Don't know anything about King of Fighters. So, but anyway, that's probably when we're gonna get that person. Another Fighters Generation item here. Obscure Street Fighter 2 anime now available in English. Street Fighter 2, the return to Fujiwara capital, the fighters who leapt through time. So they time travel and it's 22 minutes. I'm sure everybody who's watching or listening to this is dying to engage in that. Sounds like it'll fit right up there with the best movies like Avengers Endgame. Um, Athena announced for King of Fighters 15, brought to us by Fighters Generation. Guilty Gear Strive got a version 1.07 patch. brought to us by Fighters Generation. There wasn't too much in there. It was a lot of bug fixing, and as I sort of touched on in the earlier segment of this podcast, they actually did address a number of things that people were asking about and are in the process of addressing them, like balance and online connectivity, etc. Fighter Generation brings us another one with Kotobukiya reveals a Darkstalkers Felicia illustration by Shunya Yamashita for a new statue. Fighter Generation again. Soul Calibur characters select the theme song played during the Tokyo 2020 Olympics ceremony. So I guess Bamco can't be too quick to try and snub Soul Calibur with that revelation. Fighters Generation again. Apparently Tekken, they did a developer diary in 3 parts on YouTube, and it's mostly around developing the Lydia character, the newest DLC character. So that might be should be an interesting watch. Fighter Generation again. Bandai Namco share Soul Calibur 6 motion capture tech / design process for battle animations. So I always think that's interesting, because especially with the amount of people who say that some animations look silly. I haven't really seen people say that about Soul Calibur, but King of Fighters, Mortal Kombat, I know they both do some mocap. I don't know how much mocap actually makes it directly into the game, especially, with some of the sillier moves, but yeah. Soul Calibur news continues. Fighter Generation, again. Soul Calibur 6 commemorates 2 million sold with new art by Takuji Kawano and Cassandra Concepts. Another Fighter Generation item. King of Dinosaurs announced for King of Fighters 15. Fighter Generation brings to my attention that the Steam Deck handheld was announced, and it's this is interesting because this is your Switch, but for fighting games, and not in a Switch way to where you don't have I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of Ethernet that you'll be able to pop into, and you'll be able to bring your Steam Deck with you more mobilely. So you don't have to play these bad Switch versions, although lots of people are just going to buy it because it's on the Switch, because that's what attracts people to the Switch. So yeah, the Steam Deck is interesting, and we do have another news item here where we dive a bit deeper, because the problem with the Steam Deck is that certain games don't work on it because they have anti-cheat stuff on Steam and on PC. And if you're doing it through the Steam Deck, you don't necessarily have that anti-cheat stuff. And because the Steam Deck is basically a mobile PC, because you can tinker around with stuff, like you could install Linux, just the big example I was seeing, if you really wanted to be a malicious fighting game player, you can boot up your Steam Deck, install some cheat stuff because it doesn't have the anti-cheat stuff that the PC Steam does, and go to town and Tekken 7 or whatever. So I imagine they're going to be working through that for some titles. But there are some fighting games, and we'll get into that because I have the actual article with the list later in the podcast here. But yeah, Steam Deck, competitor to Switch. Not for casual, not for sales, but for people who just don't want a Switch and want to be able to play their Steam library. Who knows? I'm becoming an international teacher, so I may be in the market for one of those. Fighter Generation again with Kinu Nishimura did a Darkstalkers 27th anniversary artwork. I believe this is the OG on the game here. Fighter Generation again. And this one's really interesting because they said that they were going to support this game for a long time. This was going to be the longest they supported a game. Mortal Kombat 11 DLC support ends after 2 years, but we have a chart showing the DLC support longevity. So yeah, this chart is actually comparing a number of games where Brawlhalla is 2014 to 2021. Of course, that's where, well, I don't know if it ends or if they're saying it's going into the future. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. I don't know why it's on there, but okay. 2017 to current day, basically. Street Fighter 5, 2016 to current day. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 2019 to 2022. Dragon Ball Fighters, 2018 to 2021. Soul Calibur 6, 2019 to 2021. Mortal Kombat 11, 2019, almost halfway through 2019 to 2021. Injustice 2, barely like half a year. Mortal Kombat X, barely a year. So this bothered me, and I believe we went over this on the last episode when they said they were ending support for Mortal Kombat 11 after saying that it was going to live for a very, very long time. Well, technically, it seems to be true that Mortal Kombat 11 was supported longer than Mortal Kombat X or Injustice 2, but it was only supported for a year, half a year longer. So people who were looking to invest in that ecosystem may have felt ripped off. I can only hope that in my speculations that some of what they were doing and moving on is because they're moving on to something bigger and better and not just moving on to the next game in the cycle or something that caught them by surprise. Yeah, so just seeing if I can glean any more information. Doesn't seem like it. Alright, and lastly from Fighter Generation, early Guilty Gear, OG Guilty Gear, character concept art and prototype screens. So we have some scans here. Are these from a specific magazine though? Apparently May used to have an axe. And she was a bit older. Well, Timken would have a scythe. Milia wouldn't wear clothes. Oh, I'm glad Axel got an upgrade. Dr. Baldhead definitely got a upgrade in terms of appearance there. All right. And we move on to Event Hub stories. Event Hubs, Sakurai leaves no room for misinterpretation when he says the next DLC will be the last for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Another Event Hub story here. Party Wolf constructs a Soul Calibur 6 tier list that discussed with King J. All right. I barely know what these Soul Calibur characters look like anymore. But anyway, I'm going to try my best here. Top five, you have Nightmare, Cervantes. I'm guessing that's Yoshimitsu. And red hair girl, I've heard her name before, but I can't remember. And Tira. That's your top five in this game. I think the red hair girl is somebody's daughter or something like that. Um, we have as event hubs as well. We have a Kizzy K tier list. This was July 5th, so not well before. Wow, why am I tripping up on this? Before what's his face has been released, Gold Lewis. Yeah, in this tier list, we don't have that many characters in Guilty Gear Strive, so I can actually go through the whole thing. S plus, Soul, Ram, May, S, Chip, Geo, Zato, A plus, Leo, Kai, Axel, Nago, A, Eno, Potemkin, Milia, B, Anji, and lost tier is Faust, because Faust needs buffs. Next up, we've got a event hub story. This one's actually pretty interesting and sort of what I was thinking about, and sort of considering what you've seen with Guilty Gear Strive and Guilty Gear Strive having rollback. This makes sense. But the article is, we have no say on the matter. Arc System Works speaks on lack of rollback for Dragon Ball FighterZ and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So it says because they're not the publisher of either of those titles, they don't have any say in the matter. They said it's technically possible, but of course not actually possible, not realistically possible considering the constraints. So the only thing that I mean, not the only thing, but as I can imagine, since the publisher has to approve this, and especially in the case of fighters and Grand Blue, those are licenses involved, and so the licensors probably want to make sure. No, is it the licensee? I'm gonna get this right. I know. I'm pretty sure it's licensee. Yeah, the licensees, they're gonna want uh, money to do this, but of course they've already given them the requisite amount of money or development time, so they're probably not going to want to go back and add rollback just because people would enjoy it more. For Grand Blue's case, I could see it bringing some popularity to that, but Dragon Ball FighterZ is probably sitting pretty in terms of popularity for that and sales of that. Next news item, continuing with rollback. Arc System Works actively considering implementing rollback netcode into older titles, like with R Plus and Strive. So they're actively thinking about it, and they can't say if it's going to happen for sure, which I think is important to keep in mind. I see a lot of people saying, that stuff is unacceptable shape for Guilty Gear Strive and Zerd, and they want certain things. And it's nice to want certain things, but they have touched on many things and said they're working on it, unless you just simply don't believe them, you know? But we also get this quote: "I believe our future titles will have rollback architecture as default now. We are even considering implementing it in past titles." Another Event Hubs article here. Moving on, Guilty Gear Strive may have more input lag on PlayStation 5 than its PlayStation 4 counterpart. So this is not confirmed though, because Noodles, who's doing this sort of stuff, is doesn't have the same equipment set up for PS4 and PS5. But always important to keep in mind. But if you do believe this here, subscribe to this. PS5 has 6 frames of delay. PS4 4 frames of delay. PC less than 1 frame of delay. Another Event Hub story: Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown 1.04 full patch notes released, adding new features and improved networking to the game. So one of the problems that was seen with this game is the fact that it has lag absorption in terms of networking. Was scanning it very quickly. Yeah, it does say that this should improve online networking, ranked matchmaking. Don't know how much, but there you go. Another Event Hub stories. Any of the Stars is now officially available for Skullgirl's second encore. So she was in beta for a while, but definitely lost track of time with Guilty Gear Strive and some other things, but now she's available. So try her out. Very inspired by Soul Bad Guy, not solely, of course, but very Guilty Gear-ish is all I can really contribute there. Another interesting one here, and that you may want to check out, eventhubs.com. Street Fighter and Fatal Fury's creator discussed the origins of fighting games and how Dimps almost went bankrupt. So, trying to see if this is the same person they're talking about, or they're just talking about both of these guys. Former Street Fighter producer Yoshiki Okamoto and Takashi Nishiyama are who's sitting down here. So yeah, that might be worth a watch for you. Another interesting story that we had to go over here is that Warner Bros. Says, brought those by Event Hubs, Warner Bros. Says that NetherRealm Studios is not for sale following the appearance of rumors to the contrary. So this is a written statement, and this is important that it's not a tweet from Ed Boon, because that's a known troll. And a written statement to the gamer, a WB Games representative said they're going to be part of Warner Bros. Games. Of course, money makes things meaningless, so that still could change. Another interesting one here, eventhubs.com. Harada brings Virtua Fighter producer on his show to discuss Ultimate Showdown's success series and play Olympic games. So that might be one to check out. Um, eventhubs.com again with Mean Saltine's Guilty Gear Strive tier list. So we have Soul in the S tier, Ram S tier, A tier, um, Leo, Chip, Axel, Zato, B tier, Milia, Nago, May, Potemkin, everybody else. I'll still go through them. Kai, Geo, Anji, Faust, and Ino. Pretty reasonable. I mean, Faust should be lower, but eh. And speaking of tier lists, we have eventhubs.com again. King of Fighters 2002 Unlimited Match tier list is a fascinating look at an SNK classic that is still played today. Um, so, Cup Ramon, a South Korean player, so I actually have been doing some King of Fighters 2002. Definitely not on the level, but Kane and Rince was having their show and just wanted to support them, so tried to do what I could. But anyway, in the S plus tier, you have K dash Nameless and Kula. There is a boss section because there are, to my limited knowledge at least, banned characters in King of Fighters 2002. Huh. Yeah, interesting to look at. Um, and speaking of something that I talked about a little bit earlier, Arc System Works is already in the verification process for adding crossplay to Guilty Gear Strive. So, I mean, that's definitely hopeful. They're trying it. And combined with that, we have the fact that they're going through the verification process for crossplay, but it'll take some time. Um, Let me get the dates on these articles. Yes, that first one was July 12th, and this one is July 22nd, so seems like they've been making some progress. So they're citing some issues for PS4 frame drops. Yeah, but that's about all we know. Another Event Hub story. Falk almost stole the win rate throne in June while Rose's usage dropped significantly in Street Fighter V, which makes sense as the new character. People sort of get over that new character sheen. So apparently, this boost came from other characters around her doing worse as people aren't winning with Falk more. Yeah, so that's interesting to look at. Of another Event Hub story. So it took many takes to do his motion capture right for this game. SNK Dev on Ramon on King of Fighters 15. So again, this is kind of interesting that they actually did do mocap. I know people were complaining that King of Fighters 14 was ugly, and the podcast I listened to, Coffee and Combos, they were pretty complaining pretty heavily about the characters' animations. Well, graphics more than animations, but this might be part of it, the fact that they're using motion capture. We don't know much more than that, but they do say that is what happened. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus got its 2.61 patch, and there's patch notes for that over on eventhubs.com. Uh, Kind of weird one, but here we go. Eventhubs.com. There is a Soul bad guy and Kai Kiske. Kai Kisk, I think that's what the game actually says. Perfume. Um, my only real deal here is I hope that ArcSys is actually getting money from this. It's from some company called Fairy Tale, and apparently costs $30. So if you really want to smell the game, there you go. So we got a pretty unique tier list here from Japan with a tier list based on tournament wins. So at the top tier, which is most wins, and it's not really worth explaining. But you know, if you get like first place, then that's weighted more heavily than if you don't get first place. But yeah, so at the top tier, you have May and Soul. Right below that is Axel, Chip, Nago. Below that tier is Leo, Ram, Pot, and Zato. Below that is Milia, Kai, Gio, Anji, and below that is Ino and Faust. So it's a little bit different from what we see from the traditional tier list, and of course people are still learning the game. But when you have a good Axel, he is going to be winning more. And personally, I think with Ram, at least people are really figuring her out, so she's not going to be doing too well in tournaments. Definitely a solid character, but has counterplay, especially at that top level. Milia, that's going to take time to see good Milias. Angie is not going to have wins. Faust is not going to have wins. There was, I think it's Daru plays Ino and did fantastic, but you know, that character has problems. Sega of America repeatedly asked Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown's developers to use rollback netcode, but it was deemed not feasible. This is an Event Hub story. So, because this isn't a fully featured release, they decided to build off of the previous release instead of retrofitting rollback. So a bit disappointing, but not unreasonable, considering this was just a touch-up of an older title. So, another VinHub story. Sony is taking entrance into esports quite seriously with patents for expansive tournaments and tournament systems and betting. So these are just patents, so we don't know much. And we don't know how soon they are, but of course, Sony did buy Evo, so it could go without saying that they're getting more serious about tournaments, and especially in an online environment and trying to compete with Game Pass and Microsoft. Does make sense. Next up, we've got Event Hub's Milia's advantageous in bad matchups in Guilty Gear Strive by Lord Knight. This is a video, so check that out if you would like to know a lot about Guilty Gear or Guilty Gear in general, or what Lord Knight thinks of his character. VintHubs.com story will keep working hard. Please stay tuned. Tekken 7 developers talk about DLC and tournaments during Dev Diary video. I always think that thing is sort of interesting. I'm not in Tekken enough to really get much out of that, but there you go if you are. And again, speaking of Virtua Fighter and it being just an upgrade, VintHubs.com story, Sega made Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown in only 1 year. They are planning more updates, including Team Battle Mode, and we already discussed on this episode one patch that they did. Another VintHub story, Rewind shares his final Mortal Kombat 11 tier list. So in the best tier we have I think that's gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know these newer characters. Cetrion, Jackie, Joker, Liu Kang, Fujin, I believe that's Shang Tsung. That might be Jade and Cabal, and at the bottom is Horrendous, which I'm guessing is a step down from Bad. You have Rambo, which is interesting because Rambo was good from the tier list we were doing a couple months ago, a couple shows ago, but apparently he just can't kick it anymore. Another VintHub story. Members of Panda Global debate on who the top 10 characters are in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for a mini tier list. So, top 10, you have Joker, Pikachu, Palutena, Shulk, Peach, Wolf, Mario, Roy, Pokemon Trainer. I don't know why they have the girl icon, but whatever. And Solid Snake. Let's see. Event hubs. We have an Eno matchup chart in Guilty Gear Strive released by Sonic Soul. So check that out if you are an Eno player. Got another trailer for Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms on eventhubs.com. Kuma Kishima has been revealed for Multi-Blood type Lumina. That's on Event Hubs. Injustice movie plot details and cast announced. We'll go over the plot. We don't really need to go over the casting. The Joker, not a spoiler, but here we go. The Joker pulls off one of his most deadly and consequential schemes ever by tricking Superman into killing Lois Lane and destroying Metropolis. Superman builds his own regime to protect the Earth by any means necessary, while Batman and the other members of the Justice League break away to start a resistance to stop their former friends. Another Event Hub story. We have a lot of crossing over between um, fighting game luminaries, developers. The fathers of Street Fighter 2 are teaming up to try their hand at creating a new fighting game, which will be a parody of Street Fighter 2. Apparently, they have Yoko Shimomura show up. She's a legendary music lady, if you don't know. Oh, that's actually pretty wild and good for them. I mean, I not really doing too much in the streaming world myself, but I've had these ideas for these awards, and that right there would be deserving of the OK Boomer Award. You got a lot of people who say things and complain and don't do anything about it, and what we say to that is OK Boomer. But a lot like Shenmue 3, these guys are actually going out there and planning on doing it. So that's what the OK Boomer Award would be for. Moving on though, EventHubs.com story. Fatality releases a Captain Falcon matchup chart for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so check that out if that's interesting to you. Aliun has released an Guilty Gear Strive tier list before. Excuse me, don't know why I've got so much burp in me. 628, 720. For Guilty Gear Strive, S plus is Soul Bad Guy. No one is in the S tier. A plus is Chip, May, Leo, Milia, Ram, Zato. A plus, excuse me, A is Kai, Axel, Geo, Nago, Pot, Anji, and B is Faust. So yeah, at this point we might as well be calling Soul God tier. Isam releases his Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 12.0 tier list, including Kazuya, specifying which characters can win a major by themselves. So, Super top tier is the top ranking here, which consists of Pikachu, Joker, Palutena, Wolf, Min Min, Shulk, Peach, Mr. Game & Watch, Mario, Pokemon Trainer, Mithra and Pura, and Solid Snake. And where did he put? I'm not going to go. Well, in bottom tier is Dr. Mario, Ganondorf, and Little Mac, as per usual. So I also want to see where he put Kazuya. Yeah, Kazuya is a step below the super top tier, which they classify as top tier. Speaking of things I really didn't expect to hear, Ono laments failing to bring Darkstalkers back, tweets out that he still wants Capcom to make it happen. Well, it's not, and you were the guy who was saying that you were going to do it, and you're not with Capcom anymore, so suck it up. I mean, come on. Guilty Gear Strive's final entrant numbers for EVO 2021 Online are more than the second and third highest games combined. This is an Event Hub story. Guilty Gear Strive has 3,456. Street Fighter V has 1,854. Tekken 7 has 1,522. Mortal Kombat 11 has 714, and there's no tourney in the Asia region, probably for good reason. Skullgirls is 541, which is actually pretty impressive considering the lack of time Skullgirls had. Hook Gang God releases his tier list for Guilty Gear Strive. This is another Event Hub story. So S is Soul. S plus is Soul. S is Leo, Chip, May, Ram. A is Nago, Axel, Geo, Milia, Pot, Zato, Kai, Ino. And B is Faust and Anji. Seems about right. DeBuzz releases Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 12.0 tier list. That's Event Hubs again. And at the top, we have the absolute best characters with Joker, Sephiroth, and Pikachu. And at the bottom, we have Ridley. I believe it's Incineroar. I don't know the new Pokemon. Isabelle, that's her name. Bowser Jr., Ganondorf, and Little Mac. So a bit of a difference there. I don't know if it's just over time that we're seeing a little bit of adjustment here, or DeBuzz rather, has a bit of a different opinion. Next news story, eventhubs.com. Sega wants to hear from Virtua Fighter fans with their thoughts on Ultimate Showdown and rollback netcode. So make your voices heard. This one's kind of weird, so it is one I wanted to go over. What happened with Ash Williams in Mortal Kombat 11? This video reviews much of what we know about the gaming mystery. This is an Event Hub story. So basically, Bruce Campbell, a man to never turn down work, leaked/hinted he was going to be in Mortal Kombat 11. So there was a data mine, and even we got a chainsaw sound during the character tease. But as far as we could tell, and we went over this again before on the podcast, that for some reason the Joker had replaced Ash Williams, had replaced Bruce Campbell. Ed Boon, of course, notorious troll, he wished he could talk about it. So there's a video from Brusque Poet called WTF Happened to Ash Williams in Mortal Kombat 11. Canceled character. And so, you know, of course, I don't know. My only speculation is that something didn't work out. We do see that Bruce Campbell and the Evil Dead actually do have a video game coming out in 2022. So maybe they said, hey, we're not going to do this Mortal Kombat 11 thing. We're going to make our own video game with blackjack and hookers. So, yeah, check that out if that interests you. Event Hub story again. Umbrella's teaser shown off for Skullgirls. She's going into Alpha. Akuma and Karin were top picks at the July 31st CPT. That's on Event Hubs. Who are the 10 worst characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Panda Global discussed it, came to a conclusion that's on Event Hubs. These categories have weird names, but we're just gonna roll with it. The first category is Isabelle, Kirby, Donkey Kong. The last category, the bad category, Ganondorf. And notice how these are all heavy characters. This is why I don't want to play Smash Bros. Because heavy characters are bad and nerfed for no reason. Little Mac, Dr. Mario, King K. Rool, Ice Climbers, me something, probably a fighter, who cares, Lucario, King DDD, Piranha Plant, and Incineroar. That hurts me that these characters, these bigger characters, suck. Thanks for tuning in, Harabs. Street Fighter V's tournament mode to be revived and reworked and re-released later this month. That's an Event Hub story. 2 characters give Kai Kisuke far more trouble than everyone else in Guilty Gear Strive, according to pro player Kizuke and his matchup chart. That's on Event Hubs. Capcom wants to know what you think of the summer update stream, so let them know, I guess. We sort of talked about this already, but let's see if there's any more information. Digital Eclipse is looking into re-releasing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 following the online campaign for Maximilian. Okay, there's no new information here. I mean, technically, we did see some Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinets from, what, Arcade, 1UP, or whatever released, but who cares? That's not actual news. Oh, I hate when time is wasted like that. There is a sale of Guilty Gear Strive. So your standard edition is 20% off, deluxe edition 15% off, and ultimate edition 15% off. So now's your chance, maybe. Kazuya listed as God tier under Vendetta's latest Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tier list. It's an Event Hub story. God tier is at the top here. We have Joker, Sonic, Pyrrha, Wolf, Shulk, Terry. Wow, we are seeing some different faces in this tier list. Smash tiers have been the same for like since we've started this show practically. But anyway, continuing, Pikachu, Kazuya, Peach, and Daisy. Low tier, which is the bottom of this one, you have Bowser Jr., Donkey Kong. Apparently, Donkey Kong has dropped. Dr. Mario, Ice Climbers, Incineroar, Kirby, Jigglypuff, K. Rool, Zelda, Little Mac, and Ganondorf. So I guess the pattern here is that we are seeing more characters being bad and joining the likes of Ganondorf and Little Mac. So another Event Up story. Bandai Namco confirms patch notes at Dragon Ball FighterZ show scheduled for August 9th, so you can look forward to that. Another Event Up story. Over 400 players reportedly banned in Tekken 7 with latest update due to being found cheating or boosting during ranked. So I've been sort of in the dirt here with learning about fighting games and stuff, and people have said there's no real penalty for cheating online in Tekken. So that's a little bit of a surprise here, but a welcome one. This one's a little bit sadder here, Event Hub story. There were 3 times I could have died from COVID-19 which is what Daigo said. So apparently he had a tough time with it. Vera was revealed for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. That's an Event Hub story. This one's sort of weird, but let's go into it. Apparent hints of coming Dragon Ball FighterZ balance changes for Goku Black and Adult Gohan posted in 2 clips by Tyrant and Damascus. Now, Arc System Works has been very quiet and very tight-lipped about Dragon Ball FighterZ in certain cases. Of course, they're dealing with licensees and everything, so that makes sense. So, the reason I do bring this up is, of course, there's an Event Hub story, but that doesn't guarantee anything because they like to put up fluff pieces. 2 brand ambassadors, Tyrant and Damascus, have posted some mysterious tweets. So yeah, I mean, we don't really know much, but that is worth mentioning. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus will be getting news this weekend, so keep that in mind. That's an Event Hub story. Event Hub story again. Soul is broken. Nemo places Soul Bad Guy 2 tiers above the rest in Guilty or Strive roster on his new tier list. He's not the first person to do so, as we've seen with, I can't remember whose name it was, but we did just have a tier list with Soul being 2 tiers above everyone else. So in Nemo's tier list here, we have Soul in S tier, nobody in A tier, as we sort of just mentioned. In the B tier, Nago, Leo, Geo, Mei, Chip, Ram, Milia, Pot, Zato. C tier, Eno, Axel, Gold Lewis. So this is the first Gold Lewis we've seen on a tier list. D tier, Kai, Faust, Anji. Interesting to see Anji Kai that low. So another Event Hub story where they say for Guilty Gear Strive they don't have any plans for costumes currently. Their priority is to add more characters to the roster. So another Event Hub story here. Steam Deck reportedly cannot run some of the most popular games on PC, but what about fighting games? So that's going to be good to go into here. Dragon Ball FighterZ cannot be used online at all. As I talked about earlier in the podcast, due to anti-cheat software. All the BlazBlue games have problems. Guilty Gear Strive have some issues with cinematics or in-game videos. Accent Core takes a long time to update ranks. But seems like other games like Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Soul Calibur 6, Mortal Kombat 11 run nearly perfectly. So you do have some decisions to make, it seems like, unless those titles are updated to work better with the Steam Deck. Alright, and tournaments. Let's go over that very quickly. We got Japan versus Korea, 10 versus 10 final result. Japan won with 6 left standing. Mango beat Zane in 10-game thriller, wins Summit's Smash Summit 11. Smash Summit 11 also broke prize pool record in Smash Esports. That was Mongo's first Summit win. Evo is holding an offline event at the UFC Apex Arena in November. That's this showcase will bring the Evo 2021 online finishers to compete in Las Vegas. Don't hold your breath, as we're seeing no new COVID restrictions, and also Vegas is a hotspot. Smash Genesis 8 announced, scheduled for January 2021. Again, don't count on it. New COVID variant. We had the big L Evo. The Big House canceled their 2021 in-person event. Makes sense. Red Bull Kumite brings fighting games back to Las Vegas in November. Don't count on it. Intel World Open closed qualifiers results and open final results. We have Topanga Championship 3 results, LG Ultra Gear Fight Night results, one Chun-Li player's top 16 run. We're not going to go over that. We got the Capcom Pro Tour China 2021 results. Rage Grand Blue versus Summer 2021 results. The Big L Evo 2 results. Capcom Pro Tour 2021 North America East results. Topanga League X Tekken 7 Season 4 results. Smash, no. Don't need to go over that. Smash World Tour South America Regional Final results. Capcom Pro Tour 2021 France, Spain, Portugal results. Evo 2021 side tournament results are all up. We still have some more of main Evo that'll be finished, I believe, by August 15th. Evo 2021 early results are even being had right now, so you might be watching that instead of watching me. Capcom Pro Tour 2021 Australia 1 early results we got, and that's it. As always, thanks for tuning in, folks. Before I turn this off, I think we're going into the next podcast, but also with that being said, Toonami is starting early this weekend, so we may actually be doing filler episode, the anime and manga podcast, tomorrow, or at least way later tonight. Let me double check on that. Yep, it's starting early in less than 10 minutes, so I guess we'll get into that podcast when we get to it. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, Academy of Possible. And catch you soon.